Hey, what up everybody? This is Steve Breach coming to you. Tonight they're going to be running a new special on the WWE Network. If you've been lucky enough to watch NXT for the last 3 weeks, you've already seen the special run in its entirety, just broken up into 3 different clips run over the 3 weeks leading up to the NXT Finn Balor versus Kevin Owens match in Japan, where Finn Balor will hopefully be winning the WWE NXT Championship. It makes the most sense about what is going on. I really like the fact that this soon into Finn Balor's career in WWE, they're going out and they're acknowledging everything that he's done before in WWE. Most of the time you have to wait until a wrestler's career is all the way over, and then they'll do the retrospective DVD where they'll go out and they'll get the rights to different footage that the wrestler's done throughout his career, whether if it's Jerry the King Lawler and going back and getting things from Memphis, or if it's Stone Cold Steve Austin and going back and getting old things. Everybody's seen these DVDs come out once a career is wrapping up. That's normally the time that I really like to see the wrestlers get their own documentaries, because sometimes they'll pump out a documentary so early into somebody's career that when you want to go back and you want to watch it, so much of this stuff is left out that you're dying and waiting. When is part 2 going to come out? Finn Balor was a guy in his young career has done so much. He's been a star all over Ireland and Europe. He took his stuff to Japan and became one of the biggest stars for New Japan Wrestling before, hitching his dream about coming to America and wrestling for WWE. And that is basically what this documentary is about. And it just sort of, follows his whole life, where you see him growing up as this big, basically wrestling mark. You see him, taking a trip and taking a picture in front of the WWE, the World restaurant that they had. If you're not privileged to know what it was, basically it was like a Hard Rock cafe where you would go there, but instead of it being a collection of guitars and things from rock and roll history, it's basically wrestlers attire, and they show wrestling matches. It's just a restaurant that was featured just nothing but wrestling, that was owned by WWE. And most people think of the XFL as one of the things where Vince McMahon lost the most money, but actually, in order to have this restaurant in Times Square, they had to sign this long year lease, and ended up that they had to leave because the restaurant wasn't making money. And this is probably the one thing that WWE has lost the most money on in their career. Now, if you go there in Times Square and in New York City, it's a Hard Rock cafe, so you could sort of relive the magic, but it's just not going to be the same. WCW opened one in their time. It was called The Grill, and I don't remember what casino it was in, but it was located in Las Vegas. But you see him as sort of like just an average, awkward kid growing up being a wrestling fan, and that was basically all that he ever, wanted to do. He would talk about going into career development class, and that's what he would say that he wanted to do. He was to become a professional wrestler. At the age of 20, he started wrestling. At the age of 18, he started wrestling. I apologize. And at the age of 20, he opened up his own wrestling school, which became his own wrestling promotion, which was ran in Ireland. And this is where Becky Lynch comes in as a big part of part number 1. She's in tears when she's talking about what, Finn Balor, Prince Devitt means to her, basically saying that if it wasn't for her, she wouldn't have had anywhere to train and become a wrestler. And as good as she is, it's only because of training with him. And from here, we see lots of clips of him wrestling in this promotion in Ireland. I believe it's ICW. I think I've messed this up before, and I've been raped in the comments. People in Ireland are very, very proud of this promotion. I just noticed that when I see it, it's a very, very small ring. I don't know. It would look like a ring that I would build in my backyard. I'm not knocking the promotion. I'm just trying to get over how small this ring looks. You might have seen this ring when Drew McIntyre was released from WWE. This was where he made his first, I guess you can say, debut on the indies out of WWE. It was a big, shocking, surprising move. It was like basically if he got released on a Thursday, He was in Ireland wrestling for this company where he was a huge star. Almost basically the next day, I can't remember what the turnaround was, but the place went dark. He came out and the place just exploded with everything, and he got to the point where he needed to move on to the next stage of his career. So he took it and he left Ireland and he went to go wrestle for New Japan Wrestling, which basically was a huge gamble for him. Basically what he does is he gets moved into the New Japan Dojo, which is one of the toughest training schools in all of the world. When you move into there, you basically have to take care of all of the older experienced wrestlers. You have to cook for them. You have to clean for them. He had to wake up and he had to clean toilets. He had to set up the mats. Once training was done for the day, he had to clean all the mats, and then he'd have to go through and do all of his nightly chores. So it's basically, you're there training, and it's not like WWE where you sign a contract and you go to the performance center. Basically with the dojo, they give you a place to live, but they work you to death at the same time they're training you, hoping that it's going to pay off for them, that you become a more experienced wrestler. He ends up spending 8 years wrestling for New Japan, becoming one of their biggest stars. They put over the Bullet Club and everything that that he's done there, winning championships, winning titles, becoming one of the main eventers there, and he's ready to take that step, where basically, we see Giant Bernard, basically Tenzai or Albert, one of the many names that he's known as. I believe his real name is Matt Bloom. He's the head coach at the WWE Performance Center now, but he started a relationship with Devitt when they were in Japan, where they became very good friends, and now he's that guy that brings him into the Performance Center, and they talk about the fact that he doesn't really need training. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. What they're wanting him to do is be more polished to become a big star. He needs to know how to hit his cues on his entrance for the themes. He needs to know where to look for the cameras, and there's a very cool sight of Triple H walking him through his entrance, and he's basically like, he's right there into the camera, and he's like, basically what you want to do, I want to see you gaze, not here, not looking into the camera, I want you to look here, to where you're looking off into the distance instead of you looking into the people at home. You can definitely tell that WWE thinks that Finn Balor is going to be one of the biggest stars for their company in the foreseeable future. Since WrestleMania 31, John Cena has taken a very backseat role where he's been the United States champion. He's been wrestling in some big matches that people are really excited about with Kevin Owens. But it's a lot like, after WrestleMania 6, when Ultimate Warrior beat Hulk Hogan. It was supposed to be, Hulk Hogan is going to be the ultimate legend of WWE. He's going to be the guy that, sort of brings people in. He's still going to be the guy on the lunch boxes, the thermoses, the backpacks, the sweatshirts. He's still going to be the people that, think about, but he's not going to be wrestling in the main event. It's going to be Ultimate Warrior, taking the championship and moving on from there. So I think that's what WWE is right now, sort of moving that way into. So right now you've got all the guys from the Shield. Ambrose has been main eventing. Rollins has been the champion. Roman Reigns has been on the chase for over a year now to get that belt. You've got Adrian Neville, who right now is sort of settled into that mid-card role, but I think in the foreseeable future he's going to be bigger than he is right now. You've got Sami Zayn trying to get out of NXT. He's got an injury right now. Definitely he's going to be a player for WWE once he gets there. And then you got Finn Balor, hopefully going to Japan, winning the biggest match of his career. And he's going to be, moving into becoming the champion of NXT, seeing where that role can get there. Once he becomes the champion for NXT, my questions start to begin with, who beats him? How does he move his way up to the WWE main roster? So we're going to see. I don't think they brought him there to be a long-term WWE NXT champion. Like the Giant Bernard said, we're not bringing him here to teach him moves and polish him up on wrestling inside of the ring. We're trying to polish him up on, the interview things, entrance things, hitting his cues, definitely seeing where to see. But honestly, if you're not a guy that watches NXT and you don't really know who Finn Balor is, but you hear everybody talking about him, definitely what you need to do is watch this. Finn Balor, the Demon Revealed. It's an in-depth look inside the look and career and the future of the NXT Rising Superstar Finn Balor. If you don't know who he is or you don't know anything about him, this will teach you something. Honestly, I've been on YouTube since 2010, and I can honestly owe it to my buddy Heintert. He just graduated from high school. He's 18 now, but for probably at least 5 years, I've heard him talking about Prince Devitt, wrestling these matches in New Japan and how great these matches are, and never really gave it a second thought until this guy actually got signed by WWE. I was late to the party, and now I wish I could see some of those matches. This was a good way. They went all out. I mean, they went to the Ireland company, definitely some European companies. New Japan Wrestling was heavily featured. They showed Bullet Club shirts, New Japan Wrestling shirts. It was really his real history. It wasn't like they just said, we found this guy walking the streets, we put him into a wrestling ring, and ended up being one of the best wrestlers of all time. If you listened last weekend, Finn Balor was on Talkin' Shop, the podcast, and he didn't put it over that well, but it was a very, very good episode talking about the friendship that Finn Balor and Carl Anderson made when they were together. Basically, they talked about times they were in Los Angeles, and then they were living in the New Japan Wrestling Dojo, and being out there on the road when Finn Balor was the leader and the creator of the Bullet Club. Definitely one of the things that everyone who's a wrestling fan basically owns a Bullet Club shirt now, it seems like. But a great piece to really put this guy over. Going to Japan, I don't think there's any chance in the world he's not going to be beating Kevin Owens for that championship. I know that Finn Balor and Kevin Owens had a match the week of WrestleMania on NXT. I thought that was when basically he was going to win the NXT championship, but he ended up getting beat clean. So we're going to have to see. Owens is a really, really over wrestler, but I think he needs to get used more on the main roster, and this is going to be his goodbye from NXT.